welcome to another sports car video. Today you find me in my Murcielago LP640 Roadster E-gear, and one of the reasons why I'm doing this video is to show you the difference between an E-gear and a manual, because on Friday this car is going in for a manual conversion. The LP640s were nearly all made in E-gears. At the time it was very futuristic to have an F1 type paddle shift. It's relatively basic in the sense you still have to drive it like a manual, in the sense you take your foot off the throttle when you're changing gear. You can keep it pinned, but it's very brutal if you do that. So it's basically an automatic, but it's an automated manual, so the robot in effect is changing gear for you. When you pull that paddle back, you go up a gear, and pull that one back, you go down a gear. It's got a lovely little blip as you go down, which is just lovely. When I have the manual conversion done, I'll have to do the blip myself. I'll have to heel and toe, which will be more challenging but more fun. So the whole reason I bought this car, watch the digger, was to do the manual conversion. In the world, I think there are 7 Roadster LP640 manuals, and I think they're worth north of $1 million, so I couldn't get one of those. And I'd come across SB Racing in Aylesbury, and they were doing the belts on my Ferrari 355, and at the same time the next car along, they were doing a manual conversion, so I suddenly realised it was possible. I had actually seen all the YouTube videos that Driftworks had done. Phil Morrison, I think his name is, of his fabulous Murcielago manual conversion. But I phoned him up actually, and he put me off it. He said you can't get hold of the parts, and it's a big job. But because I came across Barry Stewart at SB Racing, and they'd only just done a car, they said, yeah, it's possible. There are some bits that are difficult to get hold of. I managed to get hold of a tower, the bit that goes underneath the gear stick, from the US, which is great. There's a lot of parts in there that I don't think are available from Lamborghini now, and the rest of the parts, it's taken me a long time, nearly a year, but I got the rest of the parts from Lamborghini themselves. So now we've got all the parts. We had to wait another month or 2 for a new clutch. Then the clutches were in short supply for some reason. But my whole aim is to get a manual LP640 Roadster. It's a bit of a dream of mine. I mean, a lot of people say, why are you mucking around with a perfectly good car? It's only done 15,000 miles. But I had a choice of buying quite a hard-driven manual, a bit like Mat Armstrong's car, and doing it up, or getting a low miles, this has done 14,800 miles, an E-gear car, and doing the conversion. So I'd rather do it that way round. I'm going to keep all the E-gear parts for the car, so I'm not going to sell them to help finance it. I'm going to keep them in a nice case, so in the future you could always convert the car back. So just to calm nerves, I am not butchering this car, and it can't be returned to the way it was before. Bought the car from VVS in Kent, and then they They were great to deal with. It was nearly a year ago that I bought the car. I only really just got used to it. I have driven quite a few E-gears cars, and out of town this is just really easy to use. In town it's a bit of a pain, but it's quicker than the manual. The manual will never be that quick, but I accept that. I mean, the whole experience of these cars isn't just about maximum speed, it's about the whole experience. I will say that it's quite an agricultural car to drive, so I think it suits the manual better. But you can't say, especially with the LP640, you can't say that the E-gear is terrible. A lot of commentators say, oh, it's terrible. It's actually not that bad. And as I said, out of town, it's shockingly fast. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see the contrast when I get the conversion done, and hopefully it goes to plan. It'll be interesting to see the contrast between the way this is now to the way it's going to be with that big manual stick. A lot of people don't agree with what I'm doing, but I do think that the gear change on a manual Murcielago is actually one of the best gear changes of a big engine car ever. It's beautifully engineered to be relatively light. Normally a big engine has to have a very industrial gearbox, but if you ever get a chance to drive a Murcielago, you realise that the clutch is relatively light, the gear change is slick, so hopefully that's what I'll have. Bear in mind we're using all Lamborghini parts, and the gearbox is essentially the same. The only difference is the control rods going into it have to be slightly adapted. You'll see much more of the detail of that in the Driftworks videos on YouTube. I'm going to attempt to do some of that, some videoing of the actual conversion, as long as I'm not in the way of SB Racing as they're doing it. But the main thing that's got to be done is getting a clutch pedal in. Driftworks did that by heavily engineering a left-hand drive box. I think I've managed to get all the parts to have a right-hand drive pedal box. Then it's taking all the E-gear stuff out and replacing it with the manual rods and bits and pieces. So yeah, it sounds simple, not simple. I've been buying and selling sports cars for a long time as a hobby, and this is the this is the pinnacle of projects that I've been involved in. I'm a bit scared. We're talking about quite a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I think it'll be a great car. It'll be a very rare car, and as they always say, you know, don't buy a car to make money. Buy a car that, if the market turns sour tomorrow, you're happy to be stuck with. And I'm really happy to be stuck with this car. It's absolutely fabulous. It's just such a beast. The way it hits all your senses compared to my daily driver is a Tesla, and the contrast is just chalk and cheese. It's fabulous, and I think that's the future of these classic cars, is the contrast of getting into something like this and the visceral experience of the noise and urgency and yeah, and it's reliable as well. I mean, I haven't done a lot of miles in this car, but it hasn't put a foot wrong the whole time I've had it. And as I said, if you buy a good car in the first place, I think that's makes a lot of difference. But I've been inspired by the likes of Driftworks and Mat Armstrong to do this video, because I think people do want to see what these cars are like, and I think no one's done it before and after on the conversion, and I think that's my motivation, to show you guys the before and after. As I said, more videos will be coming along. Please subscribe. See you in the next instalment.